Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. Hope all is well in your world. So, we are going to be talking to Miss Shirley Jones, and this is the Real Raw Mama Spotlight, where empaths get real and raw about the mother wound. You can also find my podcast on Spotify and Instagram. We are on Instagram, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the podcast platforms. And today we're going to be talking about discovering our deepest gifts from some of our greatest gifts from some of our deepest wounds. And we're going to be talking to Shirley Jones, and she's got a really magnificent story to share. And I haven't even hearing her story for the first time. So let's just see if we can find her. Oops, there we go. There she is. Let's see, are you able to jump on? I sent you an invite. You should be able to request to join the broadcast. Hopefully you're on your phone. I think that might be the only way that we could do it, is if we're both on our phone. Hmm. Sometimes technology during Mercury retrograde is not so great. Oh, there you are. Yeah, perfect. You never know what you're going to get sometimes on Instagram Live. That's right. Well, I'm.
Oh my God. I'm so pleased to be with you, Jessica.
Oh, yes, I'm so happy to have you. Oh, there's a little bit of background noise. I don't.
I'll put my earpieces in.
Yeah, maybe that'll help. Sometimes it doesn't matter, and sometimes it does. It's strange.
How's that?
Perfect. Oh my gosh. So,
Perfect is good.
yes, perfect is good. Well, I'm super excited to have you on the Real Raw Mama Spotlight, which on the real, excuse me, I got a call. I forgot to put on Do Not Disturb. I'm super excited to have you on the Real Raw Mama Spotlight, which is an offshoot of my podcast called Real Raw Mama, where empaths get real and raw about the mother wound. And so most of my guests know that we dive right into the deep heart of the deepest question, which is, when you hear the words mother wound, where do you feel that in your body? What does that mean to you?
Oh,
And how does that make you feel?
well, that's interesting. I can feel that a great deal of healing has gone on inside of me, but there's a reverberation. There is a reverberation in my solar plexus and in my heart and in my throat, in my gut, and because I experienced quite an injury from the mother wound. Um, Makes life interesting, that's for sure. Yeah. When I was conceived and everything, I felt like I wasn't wanted.
Hmm.
And that really, you that was something that it gave me how somebody can be very, very egotistical and be full of themselves? Well, for most of my life, it was the opposite for me, where I hated myself and I wanted to, I had suicidal ideation. I had, there was a lot of, it was weird. I felt inferior and all this. Uh, it had a lot of repercussions on me, and then I was born and then I was very colicky. And my mom used to bang me on the back. And she'd put me in the crib and just leave me there to cry.
Oh.
It, and this was very common back in the day, right? These things were very common patterns of behavior with infants. And we know now that they're very harmful to human beings,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
We know that now. But they I think life is happening for you, Jessica, not to you.
For sure.
You
Although
know, that's how
sometimes
I see it now.
sometimes in the moment it can be hard to receive that, and sometimes it's not always, I feel, our best interest to convince ourselves of that either when we're going through the depths of pain. And I can only imagine what you experienced, that you carried in your body, the trauma you carried, and the feelings of not being wanted and not being treated with so much like nurturing and kindness.
Yeah, and I'm very forgiving, you know, I'm very empathetic, but I am also very forgiving because I know that she never meant to behave like, you know, she had no support, right? But it all served me in the sense that I have a great understanding of people and what they go through and their pain and suffering, and I have a great understanding of my own suffering and pain. You know, I took time out today in preparation for this interview and, you know, to calm my system and to nurture myself and care for myself. And, you know, when we've been through a lot of trauma, and um, thank goodness I have resolved a lot of my post-traumatic stress disorder and dissociation and mental illness of having been diagnosed with bipolar. Like, I have these things in safe containers now. Um, but you do have to take care of yourself very, very, very well.
So important. I mean, that's that, to me, that is the deepest mother wound that we all carry, whether we've been nurtured or not as children, is that unconditional love, that space within you that fully receives you as you are in every moment. And I think that's one of our deepest journeys on this planet, is to really rediscover the love that we've always had for ourselves.
You're so right. You're so right. And you know, one of the parts of my journey was this deep-seated self-hatred, um, which I've had to eliminate because every day I have to go into my inner garden. I call it my inner garden of my subconscious, and I just weed out. I just weed it out because it's like crabgrass. And I don't know if any of your listeners have had to deal with crabgrass when they're gardening. It is the most pervasive weed you can find, because if you pull the root, if you don't get all of the root, the rest of the root just keeps spreading. You know, it's an infestation.
Right.
And so I've had to be very, very patient and root this out of me, because the heart, you know, where the inner garden kind of rests or whatever it is, it's supposed to be the place where the creator reigns. That's how I see it, you know, our higher self or our higher power or whatever. And that's the friend. So there's no room in it. You know, you can't have room in there for love and hate. The hate has got to go.
Right.
Once I got that through my head, Jessica, once I finally got that installed in my system, then I began to love myself unconditionally and with great enthusiasm. Because to me, it's the same thing as loving my higher power, my higher self.
Absolutely. So, is there a particular story on your journey? I mean, I'm sure there's probably many, but is there really a story that brings up the depth of the mother wound for you, or as you see it on this planet?
I have a great signature story. I just nailed it. So you're the first one that I'm going to actually explain it to.
I love it.
Yeah. So here we go. Is there anything worse, Jessica, than being called a bad mother?
Having become a mother in 2020, I can't think of many things beyond that are as triggering.
Exactly. And so in my situation, what happened was that I got various amounts of trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder from different things that happened to me, okay? So I'm just going to go over the quick stepping stones of it. And so I lost my identity at the age of 14 because my name, Shirley Jones, was taken away from me, and I was given another name, a family name from my stepfather's side, right? And I didn't know who that was. I had no idea. So I fell into a depression because I lost my identity.
Yeah.
And because of that, I gave up on my life, and I just wanted to die. And I was filled with self-hatred. So then I got involved with a guy, and at the age of 16, he sexually assaulted me, which is very common for a first sexual experience, as a matter of fact. You know, I'm not special. But what happened in my situation was that I took on his identity, and I ended up marrying him when I was 18 years old. I married him. And I stayed with him in a codependent relationship, you know, in a trauma bond for 36 years.
Wow.
You know, and during that time, I evolved and I grew, and I had 5 children. So I have 5 adult children, 3 sons and 2 daughters. Now, despite the fact that I hated myself, and despite the fact that I was codependent, and despite the fact that I was victimized, I did the best that I could raising those children. And I gave them natural childbirth. I breastfed them extensively. I was like an African mother in the sense that I carried them, and I tended to them. You know, I took really good care of them. I've had therapists say to me that it seemed like it was impossible that I could have done so much given the state that I was in, you know. But be that as it may, that's what I did. I was not a perfect mother by any means. There is no such thing. And the result of the divorce that I got in 2013 is that the man that's my children's father and my 5 adult children, since the divorce of 2013, and I had a conscious uncoupling in 2016 from him, go figure, they don't talk to me.
Wow.
Like, none of them talk to me. There's been very little communication over especially since 2016, you know?
Wow.
And that is a reality that's extremely painful and all too common. It's an epidemic now of estrangement in human relationships. So I'm not special in any way, shape, or form. You know, every situation is unique. I'll grant you that. But I'm not special in any way, shape, or form, right? And so what I've done is I've really, really learned to detach myself from the whole thing, and say, well, you know, society would have you say you're a bad mother, Shirley. But clearly, that's not true. You know, that there's no truth to that. So what it is that my observation, my take on it is that these people have extremely, extremely clear boundaries. So each one of them is like they're in a castle. They're the king in the castle with armed guards and a very deep, big moat. And there's full of crocodiles and alligators that are snapping and snarling and saying, keep out, Shirley. And I respect that, Jessica. You know, hey, listen, if that's what you want, that's what you're going to get. I'm not going to be trying to break in or anything. You know, I'm respectful. But I don't agree with that approach.
Yeah.
You know, I don't agree with that approach because, number one, I'm their mother. I'm the mother of the father's 5 children. So for that reason alone, I deserve to be respected and communicated with. I have the cells of their body in my body. They have the cells of my body in their body. This is scientific. The cord between us is indissoluble. So you can ignore it, but it's there. And also, I think that what it is trauma. It's trauma. They were traumatized in my relationship with their father. I get that. And I had a diagnosis of bipolar disorder in 2018. But what I thought was post premenstrual syndrome was probably bipolar, undiagnosed and untreated. And so I think that they suffered. But nevertheless, they're adults now. And personally, and I speak for myself, it takes courage. It takes courage to have healthy relationships, wholesome relationships, where there is a mutuality and an exchange, and then people can be themselves. I played a role when I was their mother. I played a role all that time. And since I've restored myself to my identity back in 2012, 2013, and as Shirley Jones, I've really started to inhabit that and be myself. And for whatever reason, they can't accept that. It's unfortunate, but did that make sense?
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, I can't even fathom what you must feel not having any of your children want to speak to you anymore. And I'm guessing you have asked them why. What was the catalyst that caused that? We don't have to go into that if you don't want to, but
well, interestingly enough, I don't know. I know it's a big discomfort with me, and they get triggered when they're around me. I get that, but that's
right.
That's one thing. And I think that what it is we've reached a point in the human world now in relationships where it's like, okay, well, you make me feel uncomfortable and you trigger me, so I'm not going to have anything to do with you. I'm just going to cut you out of my life. I'm going to ghost you. But you know what? It really doesn't work, Jessica, because the truth is that we are one human family.
For sure.
And we have to learn to get along. We have to learn to get along. Now, I've been preaching that for many, many years, but I was always a hypocrite about it because I did not have any unity inside myself. Okay, because of the disassociation and the PTSD and the mental illness. But now I do. Now I'm vibrating at the level where it's pretty strong unity, And I'm bilingual, so I can prove, that I came out of a state of being, there's so much shame and blame and guilt from the label bad mother. I had to get out from underneath it.
Absolutely. I don't think we even know what a good mother or a bad mother is, because there's really only a mother doing the best that she can with the tools that she's been given and the circumstances that she's been given. And
yes, and mothers are truly the most important people on the planet, and they get treated like dirt. They're not
they
valued.
really do. And even, this is coming from a toddler story or a toddler perspective, but my son last night, he spent most of the day with his dad, and as soon as I got there, whining at me and demanding things and crying at me, and it's not his fault, but this is the aspect of motherhood that I feel is so overlooked, because if you've never been a mother, you can never grasp what a mother does on a daily basis, just showing up with her nervous system. And so it's so it's so hard to describe that journey. And like you said, we don't really truly honor the source of creation and all that mothers do for the future generations and how they show up every day, day in and day out, whether they're sick or tired or everything in between. And then you come to a place in your journey where you're like, wow, do my children, of course, they must have experienced some sort of trauma, because that's part of life and that's part of our relationships with significant others and working through things. But to not be able to receive you in your moment of saying, hey, this is what happened, and I'm sorry if for any pain I may have caused you, but can you meet me here in this space?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I think that I think that I have a great breadth of understanding of the whole thing, because I've experienced it myself, and I'm like, I have a certain maturity and wisdom about it now, like, when you show up and with your children's father, and your child is behaving the way that he's behaving, it's because he can truly be himself with you. He feels
Exactly.
safe with you. He feels safe with you. He was probably putting on a show for his dad.
Right.
And then he sees you, and it's like such relief. Now he can express his emotions fully, right?
Right.
And you're his emotional regulator. You're the one that stabilizes him and brings him into balance, right? Right?
Absolutely. And that is a very it's a very honorable space to be in, but it's also a very incredibly challenging and overlooked place to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell you, there are so many. I'm so happy with myself, pleased with myself, that I also give credit to my children's father, because he worked very hard to be the provider, and I stayed home with my children. I was able to stay home with my children. It was a choice that I made, and so I did whatever I wanted with them. I could just spend all that time with them, because it's so precious.
Right.
And I think that in actual fact, they probably just don't need me. They probably just don't need their mother, because they had me to the max.
Well, I don't know if I think we don't need our mother, but I don't know if we ever really don't need our mother, because I mean, I can't speak for your children, but I'm just going to make a wild guess that even though they've shut you out, there is some part of them that feels deep sadness over the loss of the connection. I
Yeah.
mean, that's where we come from. Even if we don't know our mother, I mean, still there is that longing for the source from where we came.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm only 65 years old. Like, the Japanese say, this is my favorite story, not one of my favorite stories, but the Japanese have an expression. They say, a belief, a proverb that says you become an adult at age 50. So I'm really only 15, Jessica. So I figure at some point they're going to meet me where I am. Maybe when they're 65 and I'm 85 or 95. But I'm not going to just sit there and grieve, because that would be wasting my time. Just be in a state of total grief. But I see mothers and fathers who are like that, and people whose friendship relationships have broken off, and the depths of their pain. So now I'm in a position to help people navigate that, because it is truly the Grand Canyon. If you could get lost in there, you don't you can get lost in there, right? So I don't, I think that's why I've had the experiences that I've had is to be able to be of assistance now.
I love that. Well, that was my next question to you is, what are the gifts that you have received through this intense pain that have really allowed you to offer yourself as a gift to the planet?
Well, thank you for asking that question. It's a balm to my heart. I have received many gifts. My circle of friends has really shifted. In the last few months, I've gone through the one of the greatest gifts that I received. Oh my God, I've had so many, but I went through the program called Quantum Therapeutics with Shirley Jones, and she's become she's just such a phenomenal teacher. Truly one of
Very
the
cool.
greatest teachers on the planet. Truly. And her methodology is so scientific and so structured and so brilliant. It turns illness into brilliance. So I started out in October of 2022. I could barely get dressed. I was having, I was having trouble functioning, and I had been in a state of a codependent relationship with my roommate, and where she was quite aggressive, and I was constantly trying to people please with her and could never make her happy. So in October of 2022, I was living on my own, but I was still friends with her. And I was almost mute for 5 years. I barely spoke. I only spoke when I had to, in English and French. I was very shy, very reserved. People can tell you, like, it's remarkable the difference in me now. So I went through and I resolved the problem of post-traumatic stress disorder, dissociation, and the bipolar is in a container. Jessica, I feel like a new woman, to the point that I took the course, I took the program as well to become a practitioner. So now I'm a quantum therapeutics practitioner.
Wow.
And I have huge dreams, and I want to, I have case study clients that I'm working with, and I'm seeing their results are phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. It's so rewarding. It's like, you know what it is like? It's like having babies. You know how you rejoice at every little, you know, how you rejoice when the baby rolls over, or the baby starts crawling, or I can see this in my clients, where they resolve part of their post-traumatic stress disorder that's held them back and made them invisible, for instance. And then suddenly you're seeing them doing Facebook Lives.
So true. That's super
Yeah,
powerful.
it is powerful. Yeah, so that's a great gift. I've also been given the gift of my voice. I have the voice of a folk singer. I've been told by my friend who is a retired professor of voice. I have the voice of a folk singer. So now I've been singing in English and French as much as I
Wow.
can. Yeah. And expressing myself like what I'm doing now. It's really remarkable.
Wow.
It's
I
very
love
rewarding.
that. Well,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully one day your children can meet you in your new magnificence of remembering who you are and stepping into who you are and finding your voice and all of these really, I think, powerful aspects of the divine feminine or the deep feminine mother who, the feminine on this planet has been shunned and cast aside for so long. And I feel so much energy rising right now within not just women, but within all beings and the entire planet.
Well, that's great.
And
I'm glad you feel
and
that.
yeah, well, I mean, there's lots of heavy energy too, especially with these eclipses and the full moons and all of that. But I definitely do feel the magic for sure. And so, what are the ways that you kind of already mentioned with the quantum healing and all of that, but what are the any other ways that you shine light on the planet?
Well, let me see now. Well, I do volunteer work. I'm a member of the Optimist Club, that I really enjoy, and also with a gardening group, community gardening. So I do that, and I have I have lots of ideas. I have lots of ideas. I want to create a, a, a mission where I would take victims of human trafficking through a process where they would, a ministry where they would get their spiritual, physical, mental, behavioral, energetic, and financial houses in order using
Mm.
horses. I,
Oh, I love that.
I have it all in a strategic plan now, so that's great. But right now, I'm building my business as a guide and a coach, and helping my clients so realize their full potential. That's mostly what I'm focused on right now. But everything is, I have a huge vision, right? I'm like a super entrepreneur.
I love that. I call myself a serial entrepreneur, so I like that one too. Super entrepreneur. I've got my always got my hands in many different things. Um, so what are some of the tools that you utilize in your own personal life that maybe you offer to your clients, but the tools that help bring you back to center in those moments where maybe your mind is all over the place because you say you have bipolar disorder, and so how how do you navigate that? What are the tools that bring you back to that space of safety and wholeness, even amidst the chaos of your mind or outside of you?
Okay, well, first of all, I have my therapist, Sherry Doyen. So I I do what's called quantum jumping if I need to dismantle some post-traumatic stress disorder in my system. Thank goodness I have that. And also prayer, meditation. I do guided meditations with my clients, and I also talk about uh, weeding out the inner garden of the subconscious. So I spend a lot of time actually in doing that. It's very methodical work. Um, studying uh, studying holy texts and being spiritual is really really important to me. And I don't like to label myself with anything. Um, but what else would I say? Well, I live a quiet life. Um, I think I have my house in order in my mind. I'm very careful with my thinking,
Hmm.
right? I observe my thoughts, and I don't allow myself to have uh, low energy thoughts. Or if I do have them, I sit with them. I'll journal. I journal extensively. Um, I'm writing my book. I've got 2 books on the go, so it's a busy life.
I love that. Well, so what would you say that if you could offer a statement of love to the world or just a statement in general that really embodies your life and how you walk the earth, what would it be?
Okay, so my statement would be that I came here on a mission to create world peace. And there are many, 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 many of us on the planet. If you're a highly sensitive empath, then that's probably your mission too. And we need to join together, and unify. And also the most important thing we can do is unify ourselves, you know. And if you need any help with that, I'm here for you.
I love it.
I'm absolutely and totally here for you. You know, I give a lot of my help for free, and I do have clients who pay me, but there's an arrangement for everybody, right?
Yes, absolutely. We need that energetic exchange.
We do. We
Yes.
do.
Yeah, it's what creates value and deep respect and trust and all of the things. So what would be the two, or I say two core values, but you can have as many core values as you want. Mine I borrowed from Ram Dass. Has a story. I don't know if you're familiar with Ram Dass at all, but he has a
Yeah.
story about when he's with his guru, and his guru told him to love everyone and tell the truth, and he was like, I can't do that because I don't actually love everyone, so I wouldn't be telling the truth. And then finally one day it just like washed over him, and he felt what it meant to love everyone and tell the truth. And so that for me is what really embodies my core values and how I walk the earth, which
Mm-hmm.
which I don't always do perfectly, of course.
Yeah, well, nobody expects you to, and it's okay to have a wobble every now and then. I mean, you know, I think my core values are authenticity is just showing up as me. I think that's my primary core value, and also to walk the spiritual path with practical feet, as my guru Abdul Baha says.
Mm,
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah, very powerful, you know. Yeah, walk the spiritual path with practical feet, realizing that every once in a while it's going to get mucky and you're going to get stuck in the mud and slip and slide and, you know, just just keep motoring on.
Absolutely. What is it? Chop wood, carry water. It never, it never ends.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, well,
with
have a vision, you
respecting-
know, have a vision and live in the now, you know. You got to do both, right? It's a yes and.
right. It's so true. Yes, you must. It's finding that balance between vision and desire and intention, and then also just the receptivity to what is in this now moment that is here for you, that the divine is asking you to step into.
Yeah.
And that's really where I think I may have mentioned this on our call previously, but that's where I borrowed the word or the acronym RAW from. RAW also to me means real, authentic, um, vulnerable, but it also means to me respecting the one and all, acknowledging that everyone and everything is perfect in the present moment while welcoming life on its precise terms and conditions. And so that for me is that dance or that balance between all of consciousness and what the goddess, I call her the goddess of reality, is bringing us to in presence in the now moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, in one of my studies, you know, it talks about stepping away from the land of denial
Mm.
and moving towards the ocean of acceptance. And that's really helped me. That's really helped me. I've studied extensively and memorized passages so that I could be prepared for my mission in life, you know. Like I said, you know, life isn't happening to me, it's happening for me. And, you know, we're here not by accident, but by the design of our Creator for our development and the development of others, you know. Um, and just to say that when you surrender, what I feel that I have surrendered my life to the will of the Creator, you know. And so as a result, there are things that would happen that I wouldn't want to happen. I wouldn't wish them on myself, but they have happened. I wouldn't wish that estrangement of my 5 children on anybody, Jessica. I wouldn't wish that on anybody, you know. However, I accept that they happened, and they're the will of the Creator.
Right.
I just accept that, you know, and that's helped me a lot.
I'm sure. I can't think of many things that would help you feel the depths of that type of pain, but that type of wisdom to be able
Uh-huh.
to recognize that there is a divine play happening, and we don't always know the reasons why things happen, but like you said, everything, whether you can receive it in the moment, ends up being a gift over time. I can think back to all of the really intense, sometimes crazy things that have happened throughout my journey, and like you said, the only conclusion I can come to is that they were all gifts for me to step into empathy and compassion and all of the all of the emotions that sometimes we're not able to fully receive until we've been put into those types of positions.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really great to have this conversation with you, because you're obviously very advanced in your thinking. Your son must be brilliant too. He's come into the world to help us. Thank you very much for having that child, Jessica.
Oh,
It took you a
thank
lot of
you.
courage. It took you a lot of courage. It's not easy
It's
to have babies nowadays because the doom and gloom people are really powerful. They're very loud.
it's so true. Yeah, and looking around, sometimes it can be hard to find the good and to find comfort in the fact that yes, we are bringing children to this planet, and hopefully we're bringing them to a planet that is going to be filled with love and compassion and empathy and the ability to be vulnerable and to speak your truth and all of these things. And so thank you for saying that, because yes, being a mother is not easy no matter what time you've come onto this planet. And yeah, we really are here to inspire and raise the next generations.
Yeah. Well, I think tu devrais être choyé. In French, that means you should be cherished
Oh,
for what you've done, is to bring a child into the world. And whenever I see a mother with a child now when I'm out shopping or wherever I am, I always make a point of saying thank you to her. And it has really lit them up, you know,
I
because
love
it's,
that.
yeah, make a point of saying thank you to her because she had so much courage. I met a mother the other day and she said, "This is my fourth." I said, "Oh my God, good for you, so brave."
Oh, I love that. I'm going to start a practice. Maybe we could all start a practice, and especially since Mother's Day is coming up, in honors of mothers on Mother's Day and every day, because we should be honoring mothers every day. Thank you for being a mother. So thank you for being a mother and moving through your deepest pain and finding the gift in it and sharing
Yeah.
it with the world.
Well, I'm very grateful now that I've reached a point where I can tell my story without imploding, you know?
Right.
There's no implosion going on. I think it's almost it's it's not lighthearted, but I'm holding my energy pretty good. I can handle it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So are there any, I love to ask all of my guests what their favorite audio or book, if they could share it with the planet, or what they would highly recommend everybody listen to or read, what would it be?
Well, in this moment, I would say the Book of Certitude, which is called the Kitab Gan by Baha'u'llah, which means the glory of God, and it is a book that is absolutely revolutionary because what it talks about is the ancient root that all religions come from. So in the book, he describes all of the religions and where they come from. They all come from the same ancient root.
Mm.
Yeah. I wear the sticky label of being a member of the Baha'i faith, and that's been the case since 1985. And I have by no means been uh, perfect at it or whatever. It's an effort, you know.
For sure.
And I don't like labels as a rule, but I tell you, the Book of Certitude is extraordinary. You can get it online for free and study it. But in the book, he talks about your inner power. He talks about know thyself and thou will know God. He talks about, what I talked about, the land of denial, going out of the land of denial, which is your addictions. And, another thing too that I really like to focus on is the unconscious sense of superiority that we have that underlies like prejudice and why we have so much racism.
Mm.
That's in the land of denial, jealousy, hatred. He says, step away from the land of denial and come into the ocean of acceptance. Because he's talking about the unification of the entire human race into one human family. Very
Right.
powerful stuff. Very powerful stuff.
I love it. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for sharing your favorites. And before we sign off, what projects are you working on that you kind of already mentioned it a little bit, but is there anything in particular that you're getting ready to unveil to the planet?
Oh my heavens. Let me see now. Mostly it's that ministry that I'm talking about, SJ Ministries, Success and Joy Ministries.
I love that.
I think we're going to have reality TV going on there. It's not about SJ stands for, it doesn't stand for Shirley Jones. It stands for Success and Joy. It's bilingual, and it's like going to be a center for human development and capacity building, and taking people that have been victims of human trafficking all the way through until they're fully functioning in their potential.
Wow, I love that. I should connect you to, have you met Jess Rich? Oh, well, actually, she just changed her last name to Divine, Jess Divine, but I met her through the Mom Link. She's actually my business coach now, although I call her my everything coach because she helps you really work through your trauma to develop your language for your brand and showing up on social media and putting systems into place for your business. So she's really been super impactful. But she is a survivor of sex trafficking, I think, as a teenager, and she wrote a book about it, actually.
Oh my heavens.
Yeah, so I'll have to connect you two. I think you two would really hit it off. She has something Monday through Thursday called the Soul Crew, and they're like
Oh yeah.
other beings like us who have a story to share, and she helps you also write your story too, so and to really find your voice. So yeah, I'll send you her info, but I'm so grateful that I got to have this chat with you and that we got to shine a light on your story, and I look forward to more collaborations in the future and all of the developments and all of the projects that you're working on. It's really, like I said, I find it to be a really inspiring time to be alive because there are so many people who are waking up to their own journey, and instead of, like you said, being in denial about it, they're really stepping into the light to share the truth of their experience. And when we do that, I feel like you were talking about this one human race, we are all one human, or or we're all one divine energy, source energy, but we don't really ever feel the depths of that until we start to dive into the depths of our stories and find how similar we are really. When we really come right down to it, we all experience the same pains, and they may be different specific experiences, but I do feel that we all come here and feel all of these deep, intense emotions in different ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have far more in common than what we have, in our differences. And I mean, I'm hanging on really, really, really hard to the fact that peace is more powerful than war, and love is stronger than hate.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what the world tells you, the truth is that we are we're on the right path here. We're moving forward, and it's disorganized right now. And people like us, Jess, and you know everybody in the Mom Link and everybody that's watching, we're all on the leading edge of evolution. We have to lead people so that they lead themselves.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being a leader, and thank you for sharing your story. And where can we find you to connect with you further?
Well, actually, you can phone me.
Okay.
You can inbox me on Instagram, which is fine, or you can phone me at 450-330-3229.
Perfect.
I know it's unusual, but I like to receive texts and phone calls. You know,
I love it.
I can keep up that way.
Right? Well, we all have our different ways of connecting and communicating, and there's so many of them, so many different ways now. It's hard to keep track.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is you can put it into your WhatsApp.
There you go. I love it. Well, thank you again so much for joining me. And I know we're going to do a podcast episode in the future as soon as I get through my next several episodes. And I'm just so grateful to be connected with you and for sharing the truth of your story.
Jessica, it was an honor to be with you today. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you for being a mother.
Thank you. I'm going to give you a hug. Ooh.
Have a great
Okay.
day. And for everyone just tuning in or those watching the replay, if you're interested in hearing more stories like this, like Shirley's story and so many others, you can go to the Real Raw Mama podcast. I have it on my personal page, or you can go to embracewhoyouare.earth and you can go to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the places that podcasts are found. So
Perfect.
thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. Blessings.
Bye.
Bye-bye.